Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Friday, the 13th of February, it's Friday the 13th, comes to you from London. And we start by looking at Bitcoin and just remembering that anything I say here is not really an inducement to trade. It's just looking at what's going on in the chart. So if I say bullish or bearish, that doesn't necessarily, and of course it all depends on your time horizon. There's lots of different factors that you need to take in. So we're just observing what's going on the charts. Typically, if we're below the cloud, we're bearish. If we're above, we're bullish. And the targets, again, these are not really invented. All they've done is taken point and figure targets that were developed in the 1940s and put them on time-based charts. No one's ever really done that before, and this just makes them much, much easier to read. And lots of people are using these on Bloomberg, and you can use them, of course, on your TradingView. So we're seeing lots of people using these. This was silver yesterday. Upside targets met. This is a 60-minute chart. Then a downside target given, and that was met very quickly. So really, the targets are really derived from that technique. And so there's no magic to this. It's just that we've put them on time-based charts, and we are world experts in point and figure. That's our claim. So we start just by looking at that Bitcoin chart. That's the daily chart. So we're thinking weeks ahead. This is the 60-minute chart. We're thinking days ahead. We're below the cloud, waiting to see if this orange target turns red. If we move below the activation level, it will turn red. And that's the key aspect there. So, and there's lots of resources on the Updater website for reading these. So it's all quiet in the bond markets at the moment, and that has got a few people fearful. The Japanese bond market was what was really worrying in recent months as we were hitting new highs. We have seen a little bit of respite since the election there. We do have a very big weekly upside target. This data is also coming from LSEG. The same data you can be running on your Metastock data, and we do recommend for private clients that Metastock is a really great feed, broad coverage. These are all the data services that are available to you in Updater. You just simply plug and play, choose the data that you want to run on. So that gives you the ability to run these targets on lots of different data services. But as I say, Metastock is the one that we recommend for broad coverage. Now, looking at the US 10-year yield, we're seeing that we have just pulled away slightly there. And on the 30-year, we are seeing also just the upside targets are there, but we are just falling away. So for the moment, the bond market is quiet. And here we see targets on the German bond. And again, if we break higher, that activates another upside target. So really quite key that we're just waiting. And of course, we do cover, there's lots of resources on the Updater website. And if you want to understand the longer term picture take a look at my LSEG, my London Stock Exchange videos. I record these every month. And the one to watch is this one on the which covers these cycles of the bond market, stocks, and then precious metals. This is a really good one to watch, and you can watch that on the Updater website. There's loads of resources there for you on Updater's website, including the targets and how they all work. So I do recommend you watch that. So taking a look now at stocks, we had the S&P down significantly yesterday. We are just struggling to make a new high on the NASDAQ. Really interesting that we've got a downside target here. Again, failing to make a new high. We've got a downside target that will turn red with a new low. So we do watch that. And, markets do have a habit of just taking their time to roll over. So we do need to keep an eye on that. Now, the Dow has been making new highs. It's a better looking index because there's more defensive stocks in that 30 stock index. So that is just looking a little bit better. And we are seeing markets like the FTSE, the DAX, all pushing higher, looking much better than the US. But we are seeing Asia was quite a big sell-off today. Japan hit its target previously, and we are just watching these markets. So again, you can watch this on your Metastock data, so that's quite key. Big news yesterday was what was happening in precious metals. We saw silver really plummet, and that was showing up on that chart that I showed you on TradingView. Gold fell back below the cloud. 5,100 is the level for gold. We just can't get through that level at the moment. And silver, we saw that big fall just very quickly yesterday, puts us back below the cloud. And you can go right down to 1 minute targets. I put out my energy report this morning. This is a 1 minute target for carbon yesterday, gave a big downside target, and then that was met later in the day. So you can do the 1 minute targets. I don't cover them in charts today because just the longevity of those charts will be out of date very, very quickly. So we have seen some pretty big moves yesterday, and if we look at the Dow first of all, some quite big moves, and again looking at some of the big moves here. Cisco down 12%. So you have upside targets. The big question for something like Cisco when we see this failure, well, first of all, look at the 60-minute chart. No clear targets here. Watch for new upside targets building on that 60-minute chart. That's what you want to do. And on the daily chart, will this give us a new buying thrust that will generate a new upside target? That's exactly what you want to be looking for. So looking in the mix there, Nvidia were down 1.64. You will know that 170 is my level there that I keep giving, and we've seen a few stocks bucking the trend. Johnson & Johnson making new highs. Walmart. These are the stocks that you want to be looking at making new highs. So it's finding that defensive rotation as well. And we talked yesterday about stocks in the London market that have been affected by this. If we just first of all just quickly look at some more tech stocks in the US, Adobe, classic example of a software stock in a downtrend for more than a year. So this has been really happening for quite some time. We've seen a lot of these stocks falling lower. Apple yesterday were down 5%. So again, really significant that that's looking like a lower high. If we break below that, activates the downside target. That's the lower low. That selling thrust generates this target, and then it's activated if we move below the selling thrust. So it's really quite a critical thing. So taking a quick look at the LSEG heading into the weekend, and literally you can just go through every chart, and I look at loads and loads of charts. So I just literally look, are we below the cloud? What are the targets saying? Above the cloud or below the cloud? What are the targets saying? There's one that's above the cloud, and you just keep going, and you can just go through the charts one by one. Anglo American, very strong, upside targets above the cloud. And for Antofagasta, again, strong in mining above the cloud. And you can just keep going. We see Ashtead Group, mixed picture here in the cloud, harder to call. Looking at AstraZeneca, new upside target, really quite key, just right on track. And so that buying thrust there has generated the upside target. And then you look at Auto Trader, a software play really, and again downside targets. You just cannot ignore these. BAE Systems has strong upside targets in defense, but just struggling to break that 2100 level. We've got an upside target that was actually met. And again, if you want to know what's going on the short term, you can then go and look at the 60-minute chart for the targets as well. Barclays, that's a really interesting one. And we had results out from NatWest this morning. And so we can see the NatWest chart is down slightly on those results, but it has got strong upside targets, and it has been trending into those results. So, is this short-lived? We look at the 60-minute chart. We do have some potential downside. Do you want to live with 5% downside whilst you've got bigger upside targets? That's the sort of question you have to answer. Anyway, that's it for today. Have a great weekend. Just watch these targets. The market is looking a bit fearful on that NASDAQ chart, and that could have contagion. Just got to watch your targets. Make sure on your stocks that are going up with upside targets above the cloud, and be very cautious about stocks below the cloud with downside targets. Until Monday, happy charting. Bye for now.